There's a moment, a split second, when you go from, something feels off, to, I know. It's not loud. It doesn't come with thunder or a dramatic music cue like in the movies. It's quiet. Surgical. The kind of knowing that slides under your skin and settles in your chest like a cold coin. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday morning, kneeling next to my wife's car, reaching under the passenger seat for her dropped phone charger, and pulling out a red lace bra that wasn't there the night before. Not mine, obviously. And definitely not hers. Now, let me back up, because this story doesn't start with lingerie under upholstery. It starts with the kind of slow unraveling that only hindsight stitches into place. Her name's Rachel. We've been married 8 years. Met in college, fell hard, fast, the kind of romance that burns too bright at the start but somehow survives. Or so I thought. We got the house, the dog, the his and her coffee mugs. She worked in marketing at this mid-sized firm downtown, the kind of place with ping-pong tables and bean-bag chairs where coworker and friend started to blend a little too easily. I'd never been the jealous type. Rachel had always had guy friends, that never bothered me. I always believed if someone wants to cheat, they will, and no amount of paranoia will stop it. Trust was something I gave freely, maybe too freely, until the cracks started to show. It began small. She got secretive about her phone, turning the screen away from me, setting new passwords. Her work hours started stretching later, with vague reasons like, client called last minute or team happy hour. I noticed she started wearing perfume to work again. New perfume. One I didn't recognize. She told me I was imagining things. Said I was being insecure. And maybe I would have believed her, if it hadn't been for the bra. It was under her seat, tucked deep enough that it had clearly slid there or been shoved. Lacy. Red. Not one I'd ever seen her wear. And trust me, after 8 years, I knew the rotation. This one was new, and judging by the size and style, I'd bet my life she wasn't buying it for comfort. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't ask. I just held it there in my hand, my thumb brushing the edge of the cup, and I felt something inside me shift. The kind of shift that separates us from me. I placed it back under the seat like I'd never seen it. Shut the door. Went inside and acted normal. Because if I was going to confront her, I wasn't doing it blind. I needed more than a gut feeling and a piece of fabric. That night, I lay in bed next to her, eyes on the ceiling, her back turned to me. She was texting, screen dimmed, tucked into her chest like a secret. I said goodnight. She mumbled something I didn't catch. And that was when I made the decision. The next morning, I left for work early. But instead of going to the office, I drove to a strip mall 20 minutes away and bought a burner phone, cheap, prepaid, no contract. I downloaded a GPS tracker app and set up a new account. Then, while she was in the shower that night, I synced her Bluetooth to the burner and activated the app. It took 10 minutes. Afterward, I dropped the phone into the trunk of her car, tucked in the spare tire well. Silent. Hidden. A ghost in her back seat. I didn't know exactly what I'd find. But I knew I'd find something. Over the next few days, I tracked her. Watched her go to work. Watched her go to the grocery store. And then, on Thursday, she didn't go to the office. Her location pinged in a residential area about 30 minutes away, not on her usual route, not anywhere near her clients. A quiet neighborhood. Not a store. Not a restaurant. Just a house. She was there for nearly 2 hours. When she came home, she acted normal. Kissed me on the cheek. Asked what I wanted for dinner. She smelled like that new perfume again. I smiled. Told her takeout sounded good. Inside, my stomach was turning. The next day, it happened again. Different time. Same house. Another 2 hours. I looked up the address. Belonged to a guy named Logan. And sure enough, when I scrolled through her company's staff directory, there he was. Logan Fields. Mid-level account manager. Young, sharp, stupidly good-looking. The kind of guy who wore blazers with sneakers and had a laugh built to be overheard. I still didn't confront her. Not yet. Because I wanted to see it. And if there's one thing I've learned in life, if you're going to catch someone in a lie, don't just hear it, watch it. There's a strange kind of stillness that comes with betrayal. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Not even sadness. Just this, clarity. Like something in your brain steps aside and lets the cold, methodical part take over. That's where I was the morning I decided to stake out my own wife. I'd already done the recon. I had her GPS data mapped out, could practically predict when she'd stay late at the office and instead end up in that quiet cul-de-sac outside Logan's house. I'd driven past it once already. It was exactly what you'd expect, middle-class suburban home, tidy lawn, two-car driveway, forgettable enough to be invisible. Perfect place to do something you're trying to hide. That Friday, I told Rachel I had a client dinner. Said I wouldn't be home until late. She nodded a little too quickly. Said she was going to the gym after work, maybe stop at the juice bar, and then relax. No mention of Logan. No mention of taking our shared life and tossing it like an old receipt. She left around 7 p.m. in her workout gear, hair up, gym bag slung over her shoulder. I waited 20 minutes, then grabbed my jacket and keys. The burner phone was already live, I could see her location as a glowing dot, moving across town. It bypassed the gym. Bypassed downtown. Landed, right on schedule, at Logan's place. I parked 3 houses down. Killed the lights. Waited. About 15 minutes later, I saw her car pull into the driveway. She stepped out, still in gym clothes. But she wasn't carrying her bag anymore. Just her phone and a look I hadn't seen on her face in years. Not tired. Not irritated. Not the worn down, going through the motions expression I'd grown used to. She was smiling. And I hated that I still loved the way she looked when she did. The front door opened. Logan stood there, barefoot, a drink in his hand, dressed like he'd been expecting company. Which, of course, he had. Rachel walked straight into his arms like it was muscle memory. No hesitation. No guilt. Just lips on lips, hands in hair. Like they'd done it 100 times before. And me? I just watched. I didn't take pictures. Didn't need to. This wasn't about courtrooms or revenge. This was about knowing. Really knowing. I wanted the lie to die right there in front of me. No room left for maybe. No space for doubt. I stayed there for over an hour. They never left the house. Lights shifted through the windows, first the living room, then upstairs. I didn't need to imagine what was happening. I already knew. Around 9:30, her location pinged again. She was moving. I pulled out and looped around the block, watching from a distance as she backed out of Logan's driveway and turned toward home. I didn't follow her. I didn't need to. I went home, parked like nothing had happened, and sat in my car for a long time. Just breathing. Letting the betrayal sink past my skin, down into the places where love used to live. Inside, everything looked normal. Her shoes by the door. The candle she always lit after the gym flickering on the counter. She was in the shower when I came in, humming some tune she probably didn't even know she was singing. I walked past the bathroom, past our bedroom, and into the living room. Turned on the TV. Volume low. Eyes forward. When she came out, she kissed my cheek, damp hair hanging over her shoulder, skin smelling like lavender and someone else's hands. She asked how dinner went. I said it was fine. She smiled, sat beside me, and leaned her head on my shoulder. Like we were still us. Like I didn't just watch her give a piece of herself to someone else. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just kept watching the screen, letting the sound of it drown out the storm in my chest. Because now I knew. And next time, I'd let her know I knew. I didn't sleep much that night. Just lay there with Rachel curled up next to me like nothing had changed, like we were still a team. Her breathing slow and steady. Peaceful. While mine stayed shallow. Awake. Angry. But not the kind of angry that flares up and explodes. No, this was the quiet kind. The kind that simmers under the skin, waiting for the right moment to break the surface. I had a plan. Wait. Watch. Gather proof. Not for court, not even for some grand revenge, but for clarity. For closure. But closure is a slippery thing when you're still sleeping next to the person who broke you. The confrontation wasn't supposed to happen the next morning. It was supposed to come later, when I was ready. But fate, or maybe exhaustion, had other ideas. It started with a simple thing, coffee. Saturday morning, sunlight spilling through the kitchen blinds, her in her robe, humming that same damn tune from the shower the night before. I was pouring coffee when I noticed something on her wrist, a bracelet. Thin, silver, with a little charm hanging off the end. A charm I'd seen before. Not on her. On him. It was in one of the photos on her company website, a staff feature of Logan holding up a coffee mug, laughing, arm extended. That same charm bracelet on his wrist. I remembered it because it looked out of place on a guy like him. Artsy. Almost feminine. I remember wondering what the story was behind it. Now, there it was. On her. That did it. I set the coffee down. Walked around the island. Asked her, calm, almost casual, where she got the bracelet. She froze. Just for a second. Then said it was from a friend. I asked if the friend's name was Logan. Her smile didn't fade, but her eyes lost a little light. She asked why I was being weird. And that's when it happened, the plan fell apart. The quiet broke. I looked at her and said, I know, Rachel. I know about the house. I know about Logan. I've been tracking you. The silence that followed was thick. Not loud. Not defensive. Just a pause so long it made my ears ring. She didn't scream. Didn't deny it. Just slowly, carefully, placed her coffee down beside mine. And then, she nodded. No excuses. No tears. Just this tired, hollow little nod like she'd been waiting for me to find out. Maybe even relieved. I asked her how long. She said it had started 6 months ago, casual, she claimed. Drinks after work, then one night turned into another. She said it felt easy with him. Light. Said she didn't mean for it to go that far. That things had been distant between us for a long time. I asked her if she was in love with him. She hesitated. That told me everything I needed to know. Then she tried to turn it. Said she had felt neglected. That I had checked out long before she did. That maybe this wasn't about cheating, maybe it was about two people who had already let go, just at different speeds. And you know what? Maybe there was a grain of truth in that. We had drifted. Life got busy. We got lazy. But drifting apart is not the same as betrayal. One you talk about. One you work through. The other you hide behind a stranger's front door while your husband eats dinner alone. I didn't argue. Didn't yell. Just asked her one question, did you ever plan to tell me? She looked at the floor. Said, no. That was the part that broke me. Not the affair. Not the lies. The decision to keep me in the dark. To lie every day. To kiss me goodnight knowing she'd spent the afternoon in someone else's arms and never planned to say a word. I didn't pack a bag. Didn't storm out. I just walked into the living room, sat down on the couch, and stared at the blank TV. Rachel didn't follow. Eventually, she went upstairs. And I sat there for hours, listening to the quiet collapse of everything we'd built. The thing they don't tell you about betrayal is how logistical it gets. You picture heartbreak as messy and dramatic, screaming matches, broken dishes, one suitcase and a slammed door. But in real life, it's more boxes. Duct tape. Awkward silences and wondering whether it's pettier to take the toaster or just leave it as a monument to your shared delusion. Rachel and I agreed, loosely, quietly, like two strangers in line at the DMV, that I'd be the one to move out. Not because I was guilty, not because I was weak, but because I needed space. Real space. And if I stayed in that house, sleeping under the same roof where she whispered someone else's name, I wasn't gonna find it. I moved into a friend's guest room. Mark, an old college buddy, gave me the spare key, a stocked mini fridge, and said nothing except, "Take your time." He knew. Didn't ask for details. Just handed me a beer and turned on the game. But the silence between me and Rachel didn't last long. 2 days after I left, she started texting. Not apologies. Not confessions. Just noise. Asking if I was okay. If I needed anything from the house. If we could talk when things felt less raw. She even tried to send me a playlist, songs that helped me process. I didn't open it. I couldn't. I wasn't ready for 42 minutes of Bon Iver and betrayal. Then came the message that snapped something inside me. I missed the way you made me feel safe. I wish things had happened differently. No accountability. No, I'm sorry I lied. Just nostalgia in a pretty frame, a woman rewriting the story so she could miss the parts that hurt her, not the parts she broke in me. That night, I wrote a message I didn't think I'd ever send. Not a scream. Not a threat. Just the truth, cold, clear, and undiluted. You didn't just cheat on me, Rachel. You built a second life behind my back and invited someone else into the space we were still pretending to share. You held my hand while lying to my face. You let me plan weekends, buy groceries, talk about the future, knowing you'd already sold it for afternoons with Logan. You say you miss feeling safe. I miss feeling like my wife wasn't a stranger. But here we are. I hit send. Put the phone down. Didn't check if she replied. Instead, I grabbed a box from the stack Mark had set aside for me. Filled it with clothes. Then another with books. And another with all the little things I couldn't leave behind, old letters, concert stubs, a photo of us from our 3rd anniversary where she was laughing so hard her eyes disappeared. I stared at that photo longer than I meant to. Tried to figure out when it all started to slip. I couldn't. Because that's the cruelest part, you never know when the turning point happens. You only feel the weight of it after it's already crushed something important. I met with a lawyer the next morning. No theatrics. No vengeance. Just facts. I told him I didn't want to burn her down, I just wanted out. Clean. Quick. Done. He asked if I had proof. I told him about the GPS tracker, the texts, the confession. He nodded and said, "You're not the first man who's come in here with a story like that. You just told it straighter than most." We filed for divorce that afternoon. That evening, Rachel sent another message. I never meant to hurt you. I was just trying to feel alive again. I didn't answer. Because here's what I've learned, sometimes people don't mean to hurt you. Sometimes they're just drowning, and they'll grab whatever, whoever, makes them feel weightless for a little while. Even if it means pulling you under with them. But that doesn't make it okay. And it sure as hell doesn't make it love. It was a week after the papers were filed when she showed up. No warning. No text. Just a knock on the door, 3 soft taps like she was still trying not to disturb anything. I was in the middle of folding laundry in Mark's spare bedroom when I heard it. Mark was out, so I knew it wasn't him. I wasn't expecting anyone. And I sure wasn't expecting her. I opened the door and there she was, Rachel. Standing on the porch in a gray hoodie and jeans, no makeup, hair pulled back. She looked normal. Not like the woman I caught kissing another man. Not like the woman who'd gaslit me for months. Just her. Plain. Familiar. And that almost made it worse. "Can I come in?" she asked. I didn't say anything right away. I just stepped back, let her walk inside, and closed the door behind her. I figured if she'd come all this way, the least I could do was hear her out. Closure is funny like that, you tell yourself you don't need it, but when it knocks, you still open the door. She sat down on the edge of the couch, hands clasped like a schoolgirl at confession. "I'm not here to beg," she said. I stayed standing. Leaned against the counter. She started talking, slowly at first, like she was testing the temperature of the room. She said things had gotten away from her. That it started as a crush. A distraction. That Logan made her feel seen at a time when she felt invisible. She said she never stopped loving me, but she didn't know how to talk to me anymore. That every conversation between us felt like a meeting instead of a moment. That she was tired of feeling like a roommate in her own life. Then she said the one thing I didn't expect. "I'm not asking you to take me back. I just needed you to know I'm sorry." Now, I'd imagined this moment more than once. Imagined her showing up, breaking down, admitting it all. I thought it would feel good. Vindicating. Like I'd finally get the power back. But it didn't feel like that at all. It felt hollow. Because it wasn't really an apology. Not the kind that says, "I broke something precious and I know I can't fix it." It was the kind of apology people give themselves permission to give, so they can move on without the guilt. She looked up at me then, and I could see it in her eyes, the question. The what now? The tiny, desperate flicker that maybe, just maybe, this conversation was the beginning of something new. Something redemptive. And I'll be honest, for 1 second, the part of me that remembered movie nights, road trips, lazy Sundays, that part wanted to reach for her. But the rest of me? The part that sat alone in a parked car, watching her kiss another man while wearing my ring? That part remembered everything. So I looked her dead in the eye and said, "I believe you're sorry. I just don't believe you're the person I married anymore." She didn't cry. She just nodded, slowly. Got up. Looked around like she was searching for something to hold on to. But there was nothing left here for her. At the door, she turned and said, "He wasn't worth it." I said, "Neither was the lie." She left without another word. That night, I sat on the floor of that spare room, surrounded by boxes of my own life, and I did something I hadn't done since this all started. I let go. Not of the pain. Not right away. That kind of thing lingers, like smoke in fabric. But I let go of the hope that she'd come back and make it right. I let go of the version of our life that only existed in my head. I let go of the need to understand why. Because sometimes people don't cheat for adventure or lust or even love. Sometimes they cheat to escape the person they've become. And you can't compete with that kind of need. You shouldn't have to. The next morning, I deleted her number from my phone. Erased our shared calendar. Took her name off my emergency contact list. It wasn't dramatic. Just necessary. The divorce was finalized on a Thursday. No fireworks, no courtroom drama, not even a phone call. Just a digital notification from my lawyer that said, simply, "It's done. Papers filed." That was it. 8 years of marriage, over in a line of text that barely took up half the screen. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't believe it, I did. I felt it. But because something in me thought that moment would feel bigger. Heavier. Like an ending that should shake the earth a little. But it didn't. It felt like air returning to my lungs after being held underwater for too long. That night, I poured myself a drink, not to celebrate, not to mourn. Just to mark it. One glass of bourbon, quiet music in the background, and the sound of my own thoughts starting to breathe again. The sky outside was turning that soft purple blue it gets before the stars come out, and for once, I didn't feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was just, here. Alive. Untethered. In the days that followed, I started noticing things I'd stopped seeing during the fallout. Like how much quieter my mind had become. How mornings didn't feel heavy anymore. How the smell of my own laundry, my detergent, not the floral blend she always bought, made the house feel like mine again. I took the dog for longer walks. I called old friends. I even started sleeping with the window open again, something she'd always hated. Freedom isn't loud. It's not some blazing sunrise or inspirational quote on a wall. It's subtle. It's walking through your own front door and not bracing yourself. It's hearing silence and realizing it doesn't mean something's wrong. A couple of weeks later, I ran into someone from Rachel's office. A woman named Karen. We'd only met a few times at company parties, enough for a polite, "Hey, how are you?" in passing. She looked at me with that mixture of sympathy and awkward curiosity that people wear when they know your personal life became office gossip. We made small talk. I kept it short. But right as we were parting ways, she said, "For what it's worth. I think you deserved better." I just nodded and said, "Yeah. I think I did too." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. See, for a while, I thought the story was about Rachel. About what she did, and what I caught, and how she lied. But standing there, in the middle of a grocery store aisle under flickering fluorescent lights, I realized, this story wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. It was about how I picked up the pieces without needing to throw them. How I walked away from something that used to define me. How I didn't let her mistake become my identity. I don't know where she is now. Don't care. Don't wonder. Whether she stayed with Logan or left him or found another path entirely, it's not my weight to carry anymore. All I know is that on a quiet Sunday morning, a few weeks after it all ended, I woke up. The sun was spilling across the floor. The sheets were warm. There was no tension in the room, no knot in my chest, no sense of something hiding just beneath the surface. I made coffee. Sat on the porch. Watched the world go by. And for the first time in a long, long time, I was free.